What's up? What's up? Are we doing good? I'm so excited to be here. Peter, thank you so much. Julie, thank you so much for having me. I'm very excited. I had like a whole thing prepared, and we have some technology issues. It's okay. I've been mingling with some of you guys, and I feel like I've kind of gauged the room a little bit. Let me do a little informal poll. Who's brand new, never done a deal? Don't be ashamed. Raise them up, all the way, all the way, all the way. Don't be lazy. It's about half the room. Who's like done a few deals, maybe needs some more consistency? Who is that? Raise your hands, raise your hands, raise your hands. Okay, who's just rocking it out, killing it? I'm crushing it right now. Okay, only one of you.
I'm between that.
You're in between that. So what do you say? What do you say I start off by giving you guys, kind of telling you my story, how I got into real estate, how real estate really and truly changed my life, and then just kind of maybe open it up to some Q&A. Maybe there's some specific things, some specific challenges that you guys might be going through right now. If you're brand new, your challenge is, how do I start? Probably. If you're maybe done some deals, but you're on that roller coaster ride, I was there. Trust me, I get it. Maybe we can, talk through some of that because we got such an intimate crowd. I want to make sure that you guys get value tonight, and that's what I'm all about. So does that sound good?
Yeah.
Can we do that? Awesome. I had an awesome agenda for you guys. It's still going to be awesome. I'm going to touch on some stuff that I did prepare for you, but let me start off just by telling my story, because I think story is very important. When you start listening to other people's stories, you can really, for some, you can resonate. You might not be able to resonate with my entire story, but there are going to be parts of my story that I think a lot of you will be able to resonate with. They're like, oh, he did it that way. Oh, he came from that and he did that. So let me just kind of start off. A lot of it's in my book. Did everybody get the book? Who does not have a copy of the book? So I did. I love that Peter just said, and he's written a number of books. I've written one, but I love that he was really hyping me up there. But I am in the process of writing my second book that'll come out the first of next year. So this one's called Nothing's for Sale, and it's really the story of how I kind of discovered how to sell. I think if you're in real estate, you're a salesman or saleswoman. You're a salesperson. You are either selling yourself. You're selling yourself every day. If you weren't selling yourself every day, you wouldn't have taken a shower, right? You wouldn't have cared what you look like, right? So we're selling ourselves every single day. If you're in real estate specifically, let's just say you're looking for a great deal. It doesn't matter what you're going to do with it. Doesn't matter if you wholesale it or you flip it or you keep it as a rental. We're all looking for a great deal, right? So if we're looking for a great deal, that means we gotta get a great deal, which means we have to negotiate a great deal, which means we're selling our low cash offer, our low offer to that seller, correct? So we're all in sales. So this book came from just how I discovered how to sell. And you know what the very best way to sell is? The very best way to sell is just to give, and give as much value as you possibly can. If I give you the keys of the kingdom, I give you everything and everything and everything, guess what? Naturally, it's just a natural law. It's called the law of receptivity. Or I'm sorry, it's not. It's called the law of reciprocation. I'm thinking of the go-giver too much. The law of reciprocation. If I hold a door open for you, you're almost going to feel guilty to walk through that door, aren't you? Do you know what that guilt comes from? It comes from the fact that you're going to have to repay me. You're going to have to open up a door for me. So we're even. That's a natural feeling that we all have. And that is how to sell today. So for some of you that are in the business and maybe you're struggling getting your low cash offer accepted, think about that. When I go on seller appointments today, the way I go on seller appointments and the way I speak with a seller is how can I provide them value? And what I mean by that specifically is if they call me and I think the best thing for them is for them to list that property on the MLS, guess what I tell them? You need to go list that property on the MLS. But that's counterintuitive to, you spent all that time on the lead. You spent the money on the lead, the time getting the lead. You spent the time driving to the house. You spent all this effort to get in front of that seller and realize that, you know what? What's best for them is not necessarily what I can offer them. Do we have the integrity to give them what they actually need? or do we try to force our agenda on them? Here's what happens. It's a lose-lose scenario when you try to force your agenda on someone else, because you're not going to get the deal. You're just not going to get it. And now all of a sudden, now that person has a negative feeling towards you. So why not point them in the right direction? My whole thing right now, the thing that I'm going through the most right now is how to network. Because I'm of the belief that most people don't know how to network. But I think one of the biggest keys to networking is providing value and being honest and being a connector. And if you can become a connector and connect the dots, like there's some people in here, hey, you know what? I need this. You know what? I know who can get that for you. Let me put you together with that person. Now, all of a sudden, guess what I'm seen as? I'm seen as the authority. I'm seen as the influencer, just like what that book's about. I'm seen as a big time influencer. So if I'm seen in that kind of positive light, I tell this seller, yeah, you should list it. And you know what? I know 2 or 3 great realtors in town that I think you should meet with. Because not only will they put it on the MLS, they actually have a lot of buyers that would buy a property like this. Can I connect you with that person? What are they going to say? Please connect me with that person. Or you know what? You don't have a whole lot of equity today. I think the best option for you might be something creative. Maybe like a lease option or something like that. I don't do lease options, but I know who does them very, very well. And they have a great track record. Would you like for me to connect you with that person? And you do it. And here's the key, guys. You do it without expectation of receiving anything in return. You do that without the expectation of receiving anything back in return. And guess what? It's going to come back to you. It's called you reap what you sow. Okay? Some people call it karma. So I was talking to somebody the other day and they're like, I believe in karma, but it's not in the Bible. And I don't want to offend anybody in here, but karma's not in the Bible. I'm like, I think karma is in the Bible. I think it's where you reap what you sow. You know, if you're sowing goodwill, guess what's going to come back to you? Goodwill. And it may not come back from that particular person, but it's going to come back to you. So that's what I believe in. That's the journey I've been on, which I'm definitely not the first person to discover this, but I think we all need to discover it on our own. And that's what that book's about. So let me tell you my story very quickly. A lot of it's in this book. I started off my life with pretty kind of tough upbringing, single mother, raising me and my older sister, had a really challenging childhood. Ended up moving in with my dad. It was just me and my dad for a long time, and we just didn't get along. Ended up just barely graduating high school, went to college, and I went to Alabama. Roll Tide, anybody? All right, we got one. Went to Alabama. No, I'm just kidding. I won't say anything. I could. When I went to Alabama, we were the number 3 party school in the nation. Does anyone know how they judge that? How they gauge that? It's by most times you go into the emergency room with like alcohol poisoning and drug overdose. That's how they gauge that. So we were like number 3, number 2 party school in the country. So obviously I didn't get a lot of studying done when I was at Alabama, but I barely graduated college. And I don't know if any of you guys that's your story too. You get out of college, don't really know what to do, or maybe you got out of high school, don't really know what to do. And I just kind of floated around for many years, for 5, 6, 7 years, and finally ended up I went back to school, got my master's degree. I always wanted to teach, which I'm glad I'm doing that now because I feel like that's what I was made to do. But I always wanted to teach, so I got my master's in education, started coaching basketball. I did some stuff at UAB, University of Alabama, Birmingham. Go Blazers. I was a low-level assistant coach at Troy University in LA. Anyone ever heard of LA? Lower Alabama, that's right. So spent a year there, did some junior college work, and that is when I found real estate. For the first time, I went to a class very similar to this, went to something very similar amount of people in the room, ended up going to a training event where I learned what wholesaling was for the first time. I'm just curious by hands, who does not know what wholesaling is? Raise your hand up really high. I do not know what wholesaling is. Everybody knows what wholesaling is. Okay, good. But I learned what wholesaling was for the first time. So I have to explain to you that wholesaling is really and truly just going out and trying to find consistent good deals. That's really all. And you're buying it at a low price, selling it for a higher price. That's all it is. And I learned that for the first time. And within 45 days of leaving that meeting, I got my very first check, $10,000. Would $10,000 change anybody's life in here? Raise your hand if that would change anybody's circumstance, even just a little bit. Almost everybody. $10,000 today, to me, if I did a $10,000 deal, Brandon, what do you think? Yeah, that's decent. Yeah. So my circumstances have changed just a little bit since then. But in 2012, summer of 2012, when I got started in this business and I did my very first deal, you know what it did to me the most? It changed this. It changed my mindset because my entire life I was told that I was a loser. I'll never graduate. Why go to college? My dad told me that on the day of my high school graduation. Why are you going to college? You'll never be able to graduate. I've had this loser mentality my entire life. And it's almost like when I got that check, it validated the fact, you know what? I can do this. I can be somebody. And so I used to say the single most important thing in real estate, if anybody's been following me, I used to say this a lot. The single most important thing in real estate is networking. I used to say that. And now I don't believe that as much. I think the single most important thing in real estate is your mindset. It all starts with your mind. It all starts if you believe you can do it, because I didn't believe that I could do it for a long time. And then all this doubt comes in, even after the first deal, because I didn't do my second deal for like another 6 months. Now I was coaching. I was gone. But still, I wasn't really in the business. Can I do it again? Was it just a fluke? Was I lucky? And so that doubt sets in again. Am I cut out for this? So I used to say networking. Now it's mindset. But I do believe, I don't want to talk about mindset tonight because, Tony Robbins, if anybody wants to get into mindset, there's plenty of books and resources to do that. I want to talk about networking tonight. Okay, that's my main thing that I think is critical to your success at real estate and honestly, really anything. And I met a couple of business owners in here. If you own your own business, you have to network. You have to meet people you can help and who can help you get to the next level. Does that make sense? So is that okay if I spend about 5-10 minutes talking about networking, and then we'll open up to some Q&A? Does that sound good? Who, just by show of hands, I'm curious, when I say the word networking, you have kind of like a, yeah, all right, I don't know how this is going to go. Anybody feel that way? I don't know how this is going to go. Maybe a couple. Yeah, you're going to talk about networking. All right. We'll see. Only one person's brave enough. So that's what I thought too. When I bring up networking, usually I get the look like, really? Really, we're going to talk about networking? We're here, Brian. We're here in this room. We're here to network. I'm of the belief that most people don't know how to network. Just don't know how to network. They don't know what it's about. I would love for someone to raise their hand and give me a definition, your definition of networking. What does networking mean to you? Yes, ma'am. Building a relationship. What's your name? Janae. Anybody else have something different or maybe even the same answer? Anyone else want to raise their hand? Yes, ma'am.
Referring something to someone.
Referring someone to something
Business
or something to someone?
Or someone
Okay.
to,
Great.
back and forth.
Great. Yeah, I love that. Yes, sir. What's your name? Jared? Finding someone that you can provide value to or get value from? Both. Give value to. Okay. In our setting tonight, let's use our specific setting tonight. How can we utilize, because listen, guys, I love all your answers. I love every one of your answers. I don't know if you're saying that to appease me or you really believe that. But here's the disconnect I'm having right now. I love your answers, but at the same time, every one of you who answered, you came and you sat right down in a seat. And I didn't see you talk to very many people tonight.
So
I just didn't see it. I'm not saying you didn't.
So I think it is about relationships, and I think it's something that takes time. So some of us were here at the first meeting, but I think getting over those icebreakers and whatnot.
Yeah.
Building a relationship and building a rapport with people.
For sure.
Understanding where people are at. That's how you network. It's not something you do in one evening.
Okay.
In my opinion.
I think that there's a lot of truth to that. How could we potentially fast forward that process? Do you think it can be fast forward a little bit?
Through different touch points.
Okay, different touch. Okay, I like it. I say the word intentional, being intentional. I think someone actually said that. Did someone say that? No. Maybe they did. Being intentional. And I think that might be your first point tonight. If you're gonna network, if we start listing the definitions, or listing the how-to, because I'm a practical guy, I like the how-to. Step number one is let's be intentional. Intentional about who we speak with. Curious by show of hands, who came here tonight with a specific agenda? Before they got here, I have a specific agenda. What was it?
Well, from the first meeting, one of the things, the reason I was motivated to come back is to really hearing about this partnership that you
Awesome.
Because again, many of us who've been in the sharp water,
Yep.
we want a system.
Perfect.
But we don't want to keep running against these yahoos who sell us a bag of goods.
Ain't no doubt.
My intention was to hear more about this.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Peter's going to come back up when we're done and talk a lot about that. I think that's awesome.
I think mine was to kind of get to know more people that I already know in this room,
Mm-hmm.
See them face to face and, build my relationship with people that I already know.
Yeah.
And meet new folks.
For sure. Anyone else have a specific intent before they got here? Yes, sir.
I was attracted by your subject matter tonight.
Okay.
And I believe in that very deeply, that you get by giving.
Yeah.
And I just want to see how you have applied that to your
Yes.
business.
Write down that question. I'm going to answer that question very specifically. Remind me to answer that. Yes, sir. Didn't you raise your hand?
Yeah. Just to find out where to start,
Yeah.
Some information on
Yeah.
maybe websites or something.
Yes, for sure. How to start, how to get started. And I'll actually write down that question. Don't forget that. And I'll answer that. And I think Peter's going to answer that a lot too. But I'm going to talk a lot about I'm going to reiterate what Peter's going to say. And to get the book. I was hoping someone was going to say that. Whoa. I was hoping someone was going to say that. So be intentional. So let's apply this specifically to networking. We're definitely going to, William, we're definitely going to apply it to how to do more real estate deals for sure. But it starts here. Let's be intentional about who. So every time, so I just got back from a mastermind. It was yesterday in Miami. Flew in this morning from Miami. I went to that mastermind with one intention. There were about 2 or 3 people who I knew were going to be there, and I wanted to make sure I had very specific conversations with those people about a specific topic. I did not go for the content. The content was awesome. I did not go for the content. I knew it was going to be awesome, but I spent half the day yesterday while the mastermind's going on inside of a room like this. I spent half that time out there talking to people, and I'm getting some funny looks. Why would I do that? What's that? Being intentional. That was my intent. Who knows Tom Kroll? Has anyone ever heard of Tom Kroll? Got about 4 Wholesaling Inc. He's one of the biggest wholesalers in the entire country. He's coming here to speak, by the way. Anybody excited to hear from this guy? He's an incredible go-giver. He's going to give you the how-to, everything that you need if that's something that you want. Tom Kroll puts on a wholesaling summit every year. And in January of 2018, so about a little over a year ago, he did one in Orlando. And I knew he was putting it on. I knew who this guy was. I had had a couple of conversations with him. I was trying to get him. I have a podcast. I was trying to get him on my podcast. We had to reschedule it. It was right when he had a baby. So we had we had to reschedule it. He rescheduled it like 3 times with me. So was never able to get the podcast done, but his event was coming up. I paid my own way to go down to this event. I think it was like $500 or something, plus the plane ticket down to Orlando, because I wanted to meet Tom Kroll in person. I had a specific intent, and I specifically just wanted to make a connection with him. And that's it. Nothing else. I didn't know what could happen or what would happen. That was my intent. I paid my own ticket, and I flew down there, spent a couple of days, and just wanted to meet him. So I got down there on the morning of the first day. The first day, I think it was like a Monday. The first day, all they had was like a cocktail hour, like that night. And then the actual conference started that next morning, that next Tuesday morning. So during the day, I got in at like 10 a.m. and I just sent him a quick text. Didn't want to bother him. Sent him a quick text that said something like, hey, Tom, just want to let you know I'm in town for the summit, these next couple of days. Is there anything I can do for you? Is there anything you might need? Do you need help setting up? Do you need help with anything? Is there anything I can do for you? And just kind of left it at that. About 10 minutes went by. It took about 10 minutes for me to get a response. And the response said something like, brother, I'd love to kind of meet up with you right now, but I got to put out a couple of fires. And I think I have the text somewhere. I should actually look it up. He said something like, I've had like 3 speakers cancel on me for the next day, and I don't know what I'm going to do. And so, what would you do? What would you do? Step to the podium?
You asked him if it was anything you could do.
But he didn't ask me if I wanted to speak.
Volunteer.
What would you do? How would you handle it? Would you just come right on out with it?
Absolutely. I would
Okay.
say,
Who would you guys do something different?
that's your opportunity.
So I struggled. I struggled in my mind for 10 full minutes. My initial reaction was, oh yeah, let me jump on that phone. Let me text him back. And I was like, no. I had like the whole text written out. And I was like, no. Oh, what do I do? What do I do? I don't want to sound too eager. I don't want to sound like I'm trying to take advantage of a situation.
But you asked him.
Hold on. But he didn't ask me. He didn't ask me. So I struggled with that for 10 full minutes. And then finally, after about 4 drafts, I finally sent something like this. Oh man, I know that must be really crappy or something like that. That must be really, really challenging. Just to let you know, I do have some original content if you need a speaker. I do have some original content if you need a speaker. Otherwise, please let me know if there's anything else I could do for you. I'd love to help out in any other way. Sent me a text back immediately that said, when can we meet? Bam! In the words of Tom Kroll, I got to be one of the speakers. I think, Brandon, you were there for that.
By the way, it was a great presentation. He spoke about being the brand authority, and it was different from anybody else. I came up to meet him right after.
I didn't remember you.
He's the superstar now, so he doesn't remember me.
That's crazy. But do you guys understand? You guys make the correlation now? How did that happen? It only happened because I had an intentional. I had an intent. I went down there with a specific intent to try to meet with somebody and try to have a conversation with somebody in a specific conversation. And what was that specific conversation? How can I serve you? And that's point number 2. If point number 1 is be intentional, point number 2 is lead with value. Lead with some sort of servitude or giving or value. And some of you in this room, I think almost half the room is brand new, never done a deal, I think, from the beginning. Some of you may say, I don't think I have anything to offer somebody like that. And I want to tell you another story. You want to hear another story? I think stories are powerful. There's a guy in our area in Birmingham who is doing 70, 80, 100 fix and flips. And these are pretty high-end fix and flips for our area. And I don't know if you know anything about rehabbing, but to do 20 is a dang good year. To do 25 or 30 is a dang good year, like a dang good year. This guy's doing like almost 100. And he is just the absolute alpha dog in our market. No doubt about it. He's a really nice guy. You wouldn't know it, but he is the guy in our market. And when I started launching, we have a group like this in Birmingham. When I first launched it in January 2017, I reached out to him. I didn't feel like, I'd done some real estate. I'd done some real estate deals. We built a big wholesaling business. Had a lot of rentals. We had like 70 something rentals. We were doing some real estate, but I wasn't doing it on that level. And no one knew who I was really. They knew who I was, but I wasn't really, I guess, a celebrity like he's like this rock star. What could I offer that guy? The only thing I could really think in my mind, because I want to be intentional. My intent is I want to meet this guy because this is the big guy. I want to meet this guy. And my number 2 point, I want to lead with value. What do I have of value? The only thing I could think of right off the bat is like, I could sell him like a wholesale deal at like way less than, that's not gonna serve me very well to do that. Put me in my good grace, but put me in his good graces. But no, I kind of scratched that. And I'm like, well, what's my unique ability? What am I really good at? And at the time I was really getting into video editing, and I'd done a lot of content for myself. And I was like, man, the thing that this guy is lacking the most, he's a huge guy in our market, but he never puts out any content. He never puts out any videos, never puts out any posts about what he's doing. What if I could go maybe shoot some videos for this guy and, prop him up as like an authority in our marketplace? So I asked him, hey, can I follow you around with a camera for a day? Can I ride around with you and see what you do? And I'll put together some videos and we'll put them out. Guys, for our market, I want to make sure I emphasize, for our market, these things went viral. I did a 7-part kind of like documentary series on this guy, and they just went absolutely viral in our area. At the end of 2017, and I wrote the story in that book. At the end of 2017, he came up to me and he said something to the effect of, look, we were going to have a good year no matter what. But the fact that you put those videos out at the beginning of the year, there was a noticeable jump in my business. People started calling me with deals left and right. I'd never had so many realtors reach out to me, all because of those videos. Now, we were going to do 30 or 40 flips, maybe even 50 flips. I think they did 70 that year. They went way above and beyond what they normally do. And he attributed that. So what did I do? I was intentional about meeting with them. I led with value. And what did I get? What did I get in return? Now I'm like really great friends with the biggest guy in our market. So why is that important? He trusts me, but why is that important? How's that going to lead to actually like getting money in my pocket? It grows my network. I can pretty much call him anytime I want. If I need something, he's going to do it for me. Okay. The biggest thing that he contributes to me personally from a financial standpoint is he shows up at my meetings every single month. What would it mean if the 4 or 5 biggest real estate investors in town all showed up at this meeting? Everybody else they're so influential that everybody else is going to show up because they know they're going to be there. That's what he's done for me, is he comes to these meetings and people know he's going to be there, and he posts about it, and he does a lot of brand stuff for me. And now everybody, we have really large crowds because I've not just done that with him. I've done that with other big players in our city. You guys see how, maybe you're brand new and maybe you feel like you might not have anything to offer to Peter or Julie or to Brandon or some of these guys that are really doing some, I know there's a guy in the back that said they were killing it. They were crushing it. So you may not feel like you have anything to offer these guys, but you have a unique ability. We all have a unique ability. I don't know what it is for you. I came up with something creative and it worked. Can you come up with something creative that could work? Okay. So we have intentionality. These are the 3 keys to networking. These are my 3 keys to networking. Be intentional. Okay. What was the second one? Lead with value. And then what's number 3? Have I given it to you yet? Number three is be a connector. And someone mentioned it. I want to connect people. If I know Brandon's biggest need is I need a dispositions manager, and I know if someone had just moved to Atlanta from Birmingham and maybe they work for me or maybe they work for someone else, and I knew they'd be great for you, I would say, hey, man, y'all at least need to connect, have a conversation, see if it works. When you do these things, guess what happens to you? You are now an automatic authority. You're an automatic authority figure. You automatically have influence. And when you have influence, it goes back to that receptivity thing. When I open that door for someone, or in the South, if you come to my home and I say, would you like a glass of water, a glass of iced tea? If I say something like that, most people say what? Most people say what? No, thank you. Why do most people say no, thank you? They don't want to be a burden. Who else said it? They don't want to owe you. If I go, so this happens all the time. I'll meet with a seller and I'll ask the seller, maybe the seller comes to my office, maybe someone comes to my office and I'll offer them water. They turn me down almost every single time because now they feel indebted to me, like they're going to have to like say yes to the sale. They turn it down. Isn't that an interesting dynamic? An interesting psychological dynamic. So when you do something for someone, they automatically feel like they're going to have to owe you. It's the same exact principle. When you lead with value, when you become a connector and you give and you give and you give, guess what? It's going to come back to you. It's almost like you've guilted people into doing something in return for you. Every one of you, I think, got a free book tonight. Why do you think I did that? To lead with value. To lead with value. So you will feel like you'll owe me. It's funny and it's kind of true. It is kind of true. Not everybody is going to, like, what if you owing me was just something very simple like, hey, go follow me on Instagram. Is that fair exchange? If you guys all got a free book tonight and I just asked one favor of you, something simple like, hey, just follow me on Instagram. Who would do that? Raise your hand. Who would do something like that? It's fair exchange. It's fair exchange. Does this make sense to anybody? That's all I've got. I would love to answer questions. If you guys want to get down into the nitty gritty of real estate, I know that you had a question specifically, William, about how this applies to getting deals. Say the question one more time so I make sure I understand it fully.
How does giving to get, how do you apply that in real estate?
How do I apply this principle in my real estate business besides with networking? So it goes back to the story of having the integrity with the seller. Okay? If I know I can't help the seller, I absolutely know they owe too much on it and I don't do short sales or lease options. The house is maybe they're just not budging off their price. Maybe the house is in beautiful condition and they should list it. I have to be honest with them. That's leading with value, like being honest with them and being a connector. Okay, that's how I apply it in my real estate business specifically. And that's, guys, I'm telling you, that is how to sell today. If you want to sell, you want to get properties at a deep, deep, deep discount, you have to do it. You have to play that game. And here's the thing. It's actually okay. I wrestled with this for a while. It's okay to fake it. It's okay to fake, giving and leading with value. Because if you fake it enough, guess what? It's gonna become just natural to you. It's gonna become a way of life. I understood this principle so much, and it's not who I am. It's not who I was at all. And I'm like, I'm just gonna do this because I want to know. I want there to be something in it for me. But I'm just gonna do this. And I kept doing it, and I kept doing it. I'm like, it's almost like tithing. You keep doing it. God says what? Test him, right? You keep doing it, and you keep doing it, and all of a sudden you get more and more and more, and it's like, what is happening? You did it kind of reluctantly at first. You did it with selfish, maybe motives in the beginning, and you see that it just comes back to you. It's the same principle. I didn't make this stuff up, guys. I just found it true in my own business. Anybody else have any down in the dirt, down in the weeds questions? Any questions about real estate, how to get started? I don't know. Any kind of questions? Yes, sir.
One of the best deals you've ever done.
The best deal I've ever done.
Wholesale, rehab, buy and hold.
So most of my deals, so I've set up my business where it's very similar to how Peter and Julie have set up their business, because I think having a really big wholesaling business with all these components and all these pieces, I'm getting on you right now. And you got all this overhead, all this huge marketing overhead, and you have guys, in 2015, at the height of what I was doing, I had a $15,000 to $17,000 marketing budget per month. Guess what happens if you don't do a deal that month? Guess what happens if you took your eye off the ball a little bit to go over here and start playing with some multifamily and start doing some passive income stuff, and then all of a sudden you come back over here and 2 or 3 months have gone by and you didn't do a deal? I don't believe in these big, and I'm not saying you can't do it, and I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm not busting on it. I felt the pain of that. Because at the end of the day, guys, real estate's a vehicle. And I think we really need to understand that. Some of you that aren't in real estate yet may not really get this. And I didn't get it because I was chasing the money. And by the way, it's quite okay to chase the money, especially in the beginning. It's quite okay to do that, especially if you don't have anything. I didn't have anything. I had bad credit. I had no money in bad credit when I got started. Can anyone? No, don't raise your hand. No money in bad credit when I got started. I had to chase the money. The problem with that over time is you're going to get burned out. You don't really love real estate like you thought you did. You just love the money. So guys, it's about the journey. It's not about the destination. Real estate is a vehicle to get you to where you want to go. Wholesaling, it's great, especially if you're doing some good volume. It's great, throw off a lot of cash, but it's not sustainable for a long period of time, in my opinion. That's why I believe in mostly passive income. I don't think there might be some truly passive stuff. For the most, rentals are not passive. They're not truly passive. But I do believe in some sort of residual type of income, unlike, and a business can be that. It's very difficult to do that in wholesaling. Very difficult to do that in rehabbing. To be a true business owner where you're out of it and other people are running it for you flawlessly. It's very, very, very difficult to do that in real estate. Very difficult. But
So you said rentals are not your preferred method of passive income. What stream do you recommend?
rentals are not truly passive is what I said.
Okay.
They're not true. Passive means you can set it and forget about it and it's going to pay you the same thing you can't do that. Even if you have a management company, you really and truly have to pay attention to those numbers, pay attention to the management company itself. You have some involvement. So you asked me, what do? I like to invest in some businesses. I like to do some, we're creating some software type of stuff right now that has monthly subscription type of things. There's a lot of things you could do, but I will say this. I don't think I can make the blanket statement that there's no such thing as passive income, but be very careful and be very wary of people who say rentals are passive or this is passive or this is passive. Passive means no involvement. And it's just not the case for almost all things. Yeah. Did I answer your question?
What was that best deal, though?
Oh, the best deal.
I'm assuming it wasn't the wholesale deal.
Oh yeah. That's what I was getting back to that. So the best deal I ever did. So I started this by saying I restructured how I do my business now. So the best deal I've ever done was actually with a coaching partner. One of my coaching partners. We split the deal. So our highest wholesale deal ever was like $31,000. So it's not breaking the bank. We're in Birmingham. We don't have like your average is probably 30. Your average. Okay, that's good. Birmingham's more the average wholesale deal, just based on my, opinion, based on what I've seen, it's probably around 10. And that's up from about 6 or 7 or 8 when I was really doing it. Who else has questions? I'd love to answer some questions. I think we got, how much time till 8 is it?
7:38.
7:38? Okay. We can do 10 minutes, 15 minutes of Q&A if you guys want to. Or do you want me to talk about another subject? What do you guys want to do? Okay, hang on 1 second.
Challenge. What was one of your biggest challenges in the beginning?
Shiny object syndrome.
Amen.
I think that's every new are you doing a lot of deals now? Are you new or getting started or getting started? So the best advice I can give you when you first get started is to focus on one thing. Focus hard on one thing. And it's hard because here's the thing, in real estate, there's so many different ways to make money. There's 100 different ways to make money in real estate. You could go so many different routes. Stay focused. There are studies that have shown that if you try, surely most of y'all have heard that proverb that if you try to chase 2 rabbits, you catch how many? There are studies that have shown if you're doing two things, let's say 3 things, doesn't matter, more than one. If you do one thing, you can be at 100% capacity. You can give it your all, right? If you try to do 2 things, hey, I want to try this other thing over here. I'm going to give it maybe 20% of my time. I got some systems going on over here. I got this set where it's pretty good. I still need to be a little bit involved, but I got some extra time. I want to put 20% over here. Do you think you still have 80% over here? It's not how it works. It's not how it works. You could put 20% over here, but you actually decrease to maybe 60% over here. That extra 20% literally evaporates. It literally goes away. You lost it. It's gone. Studies have proven that. So if you do try to chase 2 rabbits like that, try to do 2 things or even 3 things, you're never going to be at 100% capacity. Ever. It's impossible. So the biggest thing, I'm telling you, when we did in 2015, in September, October, November of 2015, were 3 consecutive of like my best month, my new best month, my new best month. Getting to 6 figures finally in a wholesale business for 1 month. And man, I got this thing rocking and rolling. It's in perfect condition. I'm going to come over here and mess with this multifamily that I got under contract because I got some good cash flow coming from my wholesale business. I'm going to go mess with this multifamily that I bought in December of 2015, right when my office manager went on maternity leave, who, by the way, ran the show. She ran the show. And then, managing the VAs, managing the acquisitions people, she left. And I'm like, hey, you know what? We got this VA. This VA's been trained. She's been training her the whole time. We knew she was going to leave. This VA can kind of handle her workload. And I just got this big multifamily unit that I'm going to value add. I'm going to go and try. I got to fix it up. I know I'm going to spend 2 or 3 months fixing this thing up because I think I can make 5, 7, 800,000 on this deal. But I got to fix it up. I got to do certain things. I have to be in it. They got it. Guess what? Guess how many deals I did in December? 0. Guess how many deals I did in January of 16? 0. And then I get back in and I'm like, what is going on? Hey, what happened to that deal that we had at such and such street? We were supposed to close that. Oh yeah, that fell through like 2 weeks ago. What happened? What about that deal on that other street? No, they had title issues. We ended up not closing that. Well, we couldn't get it figured out. That was going to be like a $30,000 wholesale fee or $20,000 wholesale fee. Nope, it's gone. By the time I get back in the business, it was too late. So what do you do? What's the first thing you do when you got that $15,000 marketing budget? What's the first thing you do? And what's the thing you're not supposed to do as a wholesaler? Stop your marketing. We were running TV ads, running radio ads, doing billboards, doing direct mail. We had at least 100, if not 200 bandit signs a week going out. We were the guys. And this is where I learned a very valuable lesson. You cannot take your eye off that ball. You can't. And not only that, I didn't like it anyway. I hated what I created. I hated that. It was an out of control monster with out of control overhead, and I was stressed out. We had to do 3 or 4 deals just to break even. Who wants a business like that? Raise your hand. So what we've done, we've restructured our entire thing. We bring on deal partners now, coaching partners. And I know that Peter and Julie, you guys have done almost the exact same thing. And that's why I believe so much in what y'all are doing. It makes sense. And you're helping you can help more people. Instead of hiring, you can actually split deals with people, change people's lives. my life is completely different than it was 2 years ago. And for the better. But in the beginning, you have to hustle. In the beginning, you have to work hard before you get to that point. Who else?
What in your market? What's the best performing list of homeowners that you guys are targeting? Your partners
So
targeting?
I think Freedom of Information Act is a beautiful thing. Anything that requires you to get a list through the Freedom of Information Act, and especially if the Freedom of Information Act says that if you make a request, say you request code violations in a particular municipality, that municipality can say, you know what, and this is, the act says this, they can charge as much as they want that's reasonable for photocopies or for man hours that it takes to get it. They can charge whatever they want as long as it's reasonable. That's all the act says. So what happens is there's some municipalities in our area, I'm sure in your area too, where we ask them for certain things. Yeah, we can do that. We can provide that for you, but we don't have a list. We have to actually like make that list. So we have to go through all the records to create that for you. And it's going to be something like $75 an hour to do that. And we suspect this is probably going to take us about 20 hours to do. You still want us to do it? So guess what most people do? What do most people say? They say, no, I don't want you to do that. What do we say? Why do we say yes? Because no one else has that list. We are the only ones that have that list. It is an absolute gold mine of a list. And every time they say it's so much, I think we paid $75 total for it. It's never what they say it is. They just don't want to do the work, so they try to scare you off, especially in these smaller municipalities. So to answer your question, anything that requires you to get a list through the Freedom of Information Act, it's hard. It's very hard because they want to tell you no. They want to tell you that it doesn't exist. They want to tell you that, oh no, I had one municipality tell me, no, that's a federal law. We don't operate under federal law. So anyway, yeah, FOIA. And I have a PDF. It's like a 42-page PDF on how to request, how to do it, how to go through the process. So FOIA, Freedom of Information Act. It's an act that says any government, even like any governmental institution, if they have emails or they have information, you can request this information. I think there are 7 things that are protected that you cannot get. Something like sensitive information. There's 7 things. You have to just look it up. I can't remember what they all are. But there's 7 reasons why they can deny your request, but we're after code violations, evictions, tax, behind on their taxes, things like that. So they have to give us. Have you ever heard any sports fans, any football fans in here? Okay, only 3, so I shouldn't tell the story.
It's an American pastime.
All right, I'll tell the story anyway because I think it's a funny story. Anybody familiar with Ole Miss? Anybody familiar with the SEC? Ole Miss football. Their coach Hugh Freeze about 2 or 3 years ago got fired. Anyone remember why he got fired? Nope, it wasn't recruiting. Anyone remember why he got fired? He got fired because some nosy attorney requested, through the Freedom of Information Act, he requested all of Hugh Freeze's telephone records. Can he do that? Can they do that? Yes, because he's using it's a public institution, and he's using a public telephone, or a cell phone owned by that institution. So they got all those record requests, and that snoopy little lawyer went through all the records and saw this one number he didn't recognize. He Google searched it and ended up being a prostitute. So he got fired because of that reason. And he got the list through the Freedom of Information Act. It was a cell phone, but it was issued by the school, and the school owns it, and the school is run by the government, run by the state. Yeah. Any other questions before we wrap up? Yes, sir.
What do you find is your
Ask that question next.
most productive form of advertising?
I'm still a believer in direct mail. I really am. A lot of people think postcards. A lot of people think direct mail is dead. I still think direct mail is going to be, especially if you're new, it's easy. It's push button. It's super easy. So it is a little bit more expensive, but if you can afford $1,000, $1,500, $2,000 a month to get started, you're going to do a deal. You should do a deal. And your average deal should be at least $10,000. So it should be way worth it to do that. So I just have always done it. I just believe in it. Yes, sir.
What is your opinion about condos versus single family?
I don't like homeowner association fees. So if you can do condos without the association fees, then maybe you could talk to me. But so you're kind of buy and hold, right? Buy and hold or to sell?
Short-term hold.
Short-term hold, like,
Meaning 2 years.
are you talking about like to live in it for 2 years and then so you can sell it with no capital gain? Why would you only hold it for 2 years?
This particular condo is at the beach, which I really like beach properties, especially when they're well managed by a large firm.
Mhm.
And this particular one is generating significant revenue. We'll say 24,000 a year, which would be fairly
Yeah.
substantial no matter how you twist it.
Mhm.
And the price point makes sense.
Mhm.
And I'm just wondering what your
Yeah.
thoughts are on
It's difficult for me to tell. I've never done something like that before. I don't want to, blow smoke up your blouse. You know what I'm saying? Like
that. Sure.
I don't think that it's not for me. It's not an investment I would
I see a
personally
lot of
make.
people that don't like
I don't like beach properties. I think it's too seasonal. I think there's too much risk. If I'm going to go buy a property, I want to buy it in a B plus class area and I want to pay for it. Guys, I'm telling you, like, there's so many different ways to do real estate. What I'm about to tell you is my opinion. Okay, make sure that's very, very clear. It's my opinion. You can definitely make money that way. There's no doubt about it. And so if that's
If you
what
buy right,
if that's what you are attracted to, then I highly encourage you to do it. If you're knowledgeable in that area, then do it. For me, guys, I'm the guy that had 70 plus rentals leveraged. And I didn't go through the crash. I didn't get into real estate until after that, but I can understand how when you have leverage, even when you buy it right, there's just not a whole lot of cash flow there. So do you want a cash flow or do you not want a cash flow and just pay the note off as quick as you can? Or do you want to just pay cash for it? I think leverage is a great thing. It's a beautiful thing if done right, if not over leveraged. But what's over leverage? In my opinion, the longer I do this, I think over leverage is more than like 40%. I just don't like debt because you just never know. You're really not going to cash flow those things if you have debt on it. Unless you have economies of scale, and when you start getting into multifamily, if you have economies of scale where you go and get 100 units at one time, now the debt's structured in such a way where the debt's not a burden. 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 units go vacant, you're still okay. I can get on board with that, but for singles, 1 unit at a time type of thing, it's tough. Just be careful.